Last week, I decided to go to my childhood home. I asked the residents if I could come inside, and I was feeling nostalgic. But they refused and slammed the door in my face. My parents are the worst. These past 2 years, one phrase has dominated our consciousness: coming home. But what does it mean to come home? And as we've seen, coming home may not always be as easy as it sounds. There's a Chassidic phrase, wie man stellt sich Shabbat Bereshit, azoi geht a ganze Jahr. The way we set ourselves on Shabbat Bereshit, that sets the tone for the whole year. In other words, the tone we set for today doesn't just affect today or tomorrow, it shapes the entire year. That's a beautiful idea, but also a little daunting, because Bereshit isn't just about the beginning of the Torah, it's about beginnings themselves. And beginnings, as we know from life, are rarely simple. Rashi, the foremost Torah commentator, picks up on this in the context of Moshe trying to encourage the Jewish people to accept the covenant with God. Getting on the road to spiritual growth, to any growth, is a challenge. So today, let's talk about beginnings, not as moments, but as processes. Let's explore what it means to begin again after darkness, to start rebuilding after trauma, and to recognize that growth doesn't happen in an instant. It unfolds slowly, layer by layer. And let's see how this connects to Bereshit and where Am Yisrael are at the moment. Over the past few days, we've all seen images and videos that brought tears to our eyes: hostages stepping off buses, walking through doors and falling into the arms of their families, after not just days, weeks, or months, but years of captivity. Words fail to describe the power of those moments of extraordinary relief and joy. But those moments, as powerful as they are not the end of the story. They are just the first step of a new one. Because as many former hostages and their families have said, leaving captivity is not the same as coming home. It's not as simple as walking through a door and returning to life as it was. It's learning how to sleep again, how to laugh again, how to trust again. It's putting together pieces that no longer fit as they once did, and that is slow, painstaking work. The headlines end when the door opens, but then the healing begins. This is in fact the first lesson of the Torah itself. Think about it. Bereshit bara Elokim. In the beginning, God created. If God wanted to, he could have spoken the entire universe into being in a single instant. But that's not what happens. Instead, the Torah describes a process, day by day, layer by layer. Light and darkness, sky and sea, land and plants, animals and humanity. Each step builds on the previous one. Creation itself is a journey. Real, wholesome, worthwhile change never happens in a rush. It happens gradually, step by step. Whether it's the creation of a world or the creation of a new self, transformation is a process. We see the same idea in Yetziat Mitzrayim, the redemption from Egypt. You'd think that once Bnei Israel had escaped the hellish captivity in Egypt, the next step would be to put as much distance as they could between themselves and Egypt. But what does God do? He says to them, Daber el Bnei Yisrael, v'yashuvu v'yachanu lifnei pi hachirot. Tell them to turn back and encamp near pi hachirot, close to the border of Egypt. Rashi famously explains that this was part of God's plan to lure Pharaoh into one final confrontation. But another commentary offers a deeper layer. We left Egypt b'chipazon, in a rush, in haste, suddenly, dramatically. And when change is sudden, it rarely transforms us deeply. It might change our circumstances, but not our essence, but not our nature. So God tells the people, in effect, stop, go back. Let's do this properly, slowly, deliberately. Let's turn freedom from a moment into a movement. Because God wanted this redemption, this liberation, our newfound freedom to remain embedded, not just in our memory, but in our essence. I recently heard of a recording of a conversation that brought this idea home to me in a powerful way. It was a small private discussion between two men, Sasha Trupanov, who spent over 500 days as a hostage in Gaza, Mossab Youssef, known as the son of Hamas, the son of one of Hamas's founders who rejected that path and became an outspoken advocate for truth and peace. Their stories couldn't be more different. Both of them said something that stayed with me. Mosab said, I was born into darkness, hatred inherited from before I could speak. One day I decided that truth mattered more than loyalty. Sasha said, I was dragged into darkness, a darkness that felt endless. One day I decided that faith mattered more than fear. Both of them described moments where they chose a new direction. One day deciding that truth or faith mattered more. But that one day was not the destination. It was one step in a long, arduous journey, a journey that continued through doubts, setbacks, loneliness, and loss. And that's how transformation happens. Not all at once, but layer by layer, tier by tier. We see this rhythm in our festivals as well. Rosh Hashanah is dramatic, the shofar, the majesty, the trembling. Yom Kippur is intense, the fasting, the davening, the tears. Sukkot is full of joy, the lulav, the etrog, the simcha, the dancing. And then comes Shemini Atzeret, no shofar, no fasting, no sukkah, just quiet. It's as if God is telling us the drama is over. Now comes the real work. Because growth doesn't happen in the moment of the shofar blast or at the spiritual peak of Ne'ilah. It happens in the quiet days that follow, when we take inspiration of those moments and slowly turn them into habits, into choices, into who we are. And that is the deeper meaning of Shabbat Bereshit. The festivals are over, the headlines have faded. The question now is not what did we feel, but what will we become? As we start a new cycle of Torah, a new year of our lives, I think there are two questions we should ask ourselves. They are the same questions that face anyone coming home after captivity, anyone stepping out from darkness into light, anyone beginning again after trauma. Question one, what have I gained from the journey so far? The last 2 years have been exhausting and heartbreaking. We've seen hatred we thought we would never see again. We've watched Israel endure unimaginable pain, and yet we've also seen extraordinary resilience, unity, and generosity. So what have we gained? Have we deepened our connection to Eretz Yisrael? Have we become more compassionate to Jews different from ourselves? Have we found new ways to give, to volunteer, and support? Question two, what will I build from here? Once the drama has passed, what will I do with what I've learned? How will I live so this whole experience doesn't just become a memory, but something that shapes who I am? I'll finish with this thought. Every hostage who walks back through their front door faces a long road ahead. Every person who chooses truth over hatred, faith over fear, is still a work in progress. And so are we. The story of Bereshit is not that God created the world. It's that creation is ongoing. Every step, every day, every choice. He invites us to do the same, to begin again, patiently, deliberately. Wie man stellt sich Shabbat Bereshit. So this Shabbat, let us all make a small shift towards a path of patient growth and courageous beginnings. May we build a life, a community, and a future that reflects the deepest parts of our Jewish identity. And may our efforts make us worthy of the ultimate redemption that we hope for and pray for every day. Thank you.